Hey everybody, this video is about covering just some of the general topics that I go over in the buyer's guide and also the Get Educated section. This will kind of start to get your mind into thinking about what's really important here when I'm trying to make a really informed purchase decision, when I'm trying to figure out what company to go with, which I'm trying to figure out what kind of laser to get. And so I'm just going to pull up my notes here and I'm going to briefly run through topics that I explore in much more detail in form of written content, as well as what will be more future videos that I continue to keep on putting out, because not everybody wants to read and read and read and read. So let me just go over some of these topics here. So here's one. If you're thinking about bringing laser therapy into your practice, or you're trying to bring it and be a residential user, okay? Price is actually something that is an important thing to scrutinize. But buying the cheapest device that you can get may not really always be the best thing. Now, a lot of people just may know that, kind of think about it logically, but there's a lot of devices that aren't cleared, that are very cheap to manufacture, that are floating around out there on Amazon or eBay or the internet. Trust me, that component quality is not there. So a lot of these devices will already have issues within 3 months of just regular use, or already have issues within a year or 2 years, okay? And that's usually the type of thing. And then trying to get this fixed, usually there's absolutely no support on the back end. What else do I cover? I also teach you and show you how to make an apples to apples comparison. Now, this is huge here, because when we're looking at all these different lasers, right, all the different options, it looks like apples and oranges and bananas, and this company has this sort of unique patented system, and this one over here has this feature, and this one has all these different wavelengths, right? So how can we actually just make it all apples, right, and hone in on the key specs which absolutely have to do with the efficacy that you're going to get, okay, or the treatment outcome, to use not such a fancy word. So I show you which specifications to focus in on, okay, and then how to actually extract that information, and then very easily look at the price and say right off the bat, is that grossly overpriced? Is that reasonable? All sorts of things we can conclude from that, okay? And the other thing is about asking a colleague or friend who owns a device, okay, what they think of that device, and asking them for purchase decision advice. Now, I usually generally recommend against this if that practitioner has only had experience with that one device. Now, if they happen to have picked an excellent device, that's definitely one of the better ones out here, well, that's great, because now you get some feedback from that, okay? But if not, and you also don't know that, then you have to keep in mind that some of the most biased people who will give you information are, number one, salespeople, of course, sales from the actual laser company, right? And then number two, actually your friends and peers, your colleagues as well. Because in general, they usually, with the exception, sometimes I speak to individuals who say they've been doing laser therapy for 15 years and they've tried all sorts of different lasers. Those are great individuals to talk to, definitely, okay? And I can always put you in touch with those individuals for peers in your field if you want to actually talk to them. But in general, if they've tried one or two lasers, they say, oh, even if they say this is the best laser ever, well, it might be, but that's only in your limited experience, because that's the only device, one or maybe two devices, that you've ever used. Meanwhile, if they had a chance to try maybe some other ones, they might be totally blown away compared to their previous results. So just always keep that in mind when friends or colleagues are, but definitely take in what they're saying and then double check it with me or with my team, or try to find some more information elsewhere. What are some other topics that I cover? I cover insurance, CPT codes. A lot of states actually have those. So you can actually run laser therapy, again, through individuals' insurance companies. And just a side note here, I get sometimes some calls about, well, if I'm a home user, can I actually use insurance to buy a laser? And the answer is generally no. There's some exceptions to that. Sometimes if there's an accident involved and the person sued the other insurance company, sometimes they'll help them pay for that as part of the recovery, but it's a very special case. Happens 1%, 2% of the time. What else do we have here? I also cover kind of some of the biggest, what I call marketing hype out there that some companies do. And marketing hype generally happens when a company has some features or aspects to a light therapy device that is not backed by any sort of studies, not backed by really anything at all. They just kind of made it up. And they just have a lot of subjective feedback from the customers that they've sold their device to. And I find this a lot, by the way, with laser products that use LEDs or SLDs and use some sort of pulsing or super pulsing function. In general, I'll see a lot of misleading information, to be very polite about the situation. But you can, if you ever have any more questions about that, you can always ask me and read more about it on my site. And I also expose a lot of myths and rumors in this industry. In fact, if you're just coming to cold laser therapy, you might be surprised to hear that the same rumors and myths that were propagated 25, 30 years ago still float around. They still float around on the internet. They still float around and they come out of the mouths of specific companies and manufacturers to try to put down and compete, or to put down their competitors. I'll give you a classic one, which is, there was a lot of debate going on for years between Class 3 and Class 4 laser companies. And actually, a lot of the information floating around out there that you might read is taken out of context a lot of times and is not backed. They're just unsubstantiated claims that are usually there to, as part of marketing, to either push a Class 3 or push a Class 4 as better. And it just really depends. Everybody has a unique situation. So that's what I actually help individuals figure out also is, hone in basically on which class, and we further break it down there from there. But yeah, so a classic debate is, oh, you can't use a high-powered device. It's dangerous. It'll burn the patient. They'll overdose. It's, they go on and on and on. Okay. So there's that side, and then there's the Class 3. Well, the Class 3 is low dose, so it's better. The body accepts lower energy more readily. It's more healing. You can get deeper penetration because you can push the device into the skin without burning the person. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Okay. And I discuss all of that, and you can always ask me questions about that point as well. Let's look here. All right. I also have I have a special kind of white paper or buying guide, I guess you could say. It's just basically a quick review of that. Is what are some of the 5 critical steps making an informed laser decision to purchase one? You have to determine which wavelengths are necessary for your treatment methodology. Number 2, you have to determine the cost per watt, what you're actually paying. This helps you. That's one of the steps as well, to assess the value that's being represented to you. Number 2, you have to thoroughly review the warranties and all that language, replacement costs, you name it. Okay. Any other also additional value added marketing, training, things like that. And let's see. That's mainly it. That document actually has a huge amount of information. It goes, I think, maybe 12 pages. It's a little bit of a long read, but it's very educational. Let's see. I'll quickly just cover just a few more topics. I really have a lot here that's covered, but I wanted to just give you a sense of some of the things that we explore. High markup on lasers, just gross overpriced lasers. Which devices are those? The myths, again, going back, there's a lot of misleading information about penetration, depth of penetration, okay, versus, and how that's related to power density, okay. There are also, we go further into specifications and how to read those. Like a little specification you may not come across, and a lot of practitioners miss this even after months of research. Which is, I actually totally blanked on that one right now at the moment, but we can come back to that one. Let's see here. That basically folds things up for now. If you have any more questions about anything that I've shared so far, or you're just having, trouble finding one of the topics that I just touched on and where you can actually read more information or learn more information, just send a quick email. It'll probably be the best way with your question, and then I can basically point you directly where you can find your answer. That's a very, very quick way to educate everybody. Anyways, again, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more topics and videos.